Hi class, welcome to EdVantage. I'm Matt Fisher, your accounting professor. In today's video, we're going to go over special orders. All right, over the next several videos, we're going to be looking at making decisions, usually in the short term. We're going to be using concepts associated with cost, volume, profit analysis. We're going to be looking at contribution margin information, which I have over here, and we're going to look at that in just a second. But in today's video, we're going to be looking at a special order. So what can happen is maybe we sell these soccer balls. We're going to use the same example we've been using for a while. We sell soccer balls, and maybe we sell them for $20 per soccer ball. And our variable costs are $12 per soccer ball in my example. So that includes materials, labor, variable overhead, and possibly some variable selling and administrative costs. Our total fixed costs in my example are $80,000, meaning it's made up of fixed overhead and maybe some fixed selling and administrative costs. So anyway, this is our cost structure. Now, somebody who's not a current customer of ours comes to us and says, we want to buy some of your soccer balls, but we don't want to pay $20. Right? Now, a lot of students right then say, wait a minute, why would I sell a soccer ball for less than my typical sales price? Well, the first question you should be asking is, okay, well, how many soccer balls can I make? So let's assume that we can make 20,000 soccer balls. And right now, let's assume that we're only selling 13,000. Okay, so we've got capacity. We can sell more. So if that's the case, if we've got this capacity, then maybe we will sell these soccer balls to somebody at a discounted price, just for a special occasion, right? We're not going to do this all the time because then our other customers would want to get this deal. All right, so when we're looking at these type of decisions that we need to make sure that we're looking at the relevant information. Okay, now what can happen here is we can accept the special order or not accept the special order. All right, accept it or reject it is what I'd like to say. All right, so there's our decision. So now we're going to look at the costs and revenues that change between those two alternatives, whether we do it or we don't do it. All right, I know that can be confusing sometimes, but you always got to think about we're looking at the changes that are taking place, whether we do the special order or we don't. So this customer wants to purchase 3,000 soccer balls from us. If you remember, I said we can manufacture up to 20, and right now we're only manufacturing 13,000. So when this customer comes to us and wants to purchase 3,000 soccer balls, we could do that. We have that capacity. Now, this customer tells us they want to pay $13 per soccer ball. All right, so that's changing between the alternatives, right? If we accept it, then we're going to sell it for $13. If we don't, then we won't get that $13. So you see, it's changing. That sales price changes whether we do this or not. So it's relevant information. So I'm going to put down here, if we accept the special order, then we would get $13. Now the question is, what happens to our costs? Will they change or not change? Right. So first of all, variable costs. We're usually going to assume that variable costs are relevant information, because if we sell the soccer balls, then we will incur that $12 of variable costs. If we don't sell the soccer ball, then we won't incur that cost. You see, it's changing between the alternatives. So it's relevant information. So now, my contribution margin for these soccer balls would be $1. It's a positive contribution margin. It's contributing to paying off my fixed costs and potentially to generating positive revenue, additional positive revenue for us. Okay. The next question is, well, what happens with our fixed costs? Well, if you think about this fixed costs usually are fixed in nature, meaning they're not going to change whether we do this or we don't do this. All right. So it's not relevant. It's not relevant to our decision. So what happens here then is we're not going to factor that into here because it's not going to change the profitability, right? It's not going to bring profits down because whether we accept it or reject it. They're fixed no matter what. So in this example, I said we're selling 3,000 soccer balls. So if we sell these 3,000 soccer balls, our profit will actually increase $3,000 because each soccer ball will be contributing $1 of contribution margin, right? Now at this point, some of you may be thinking, yeah, that makes sense, I understand this. Others of you might be thinking, okay, well maybe not, I'm not quite sure if I understand this, right? So we're gonna go through and we're gonna look at our numbers, whether we accept it or don't accept it, all right? So I'll be right back, let me erase the board and get us ready for that example. Like I said, we're gonna go over an example where we have just our regular sales at 13,000 soccer balls. That was our normal sales. So I took 13,000 times $20 and got 260,000. Our variable costs, remember, those include variable materials, direct labor, variable overhead, and our variable selling and administrative costs. In the notes, I have these broken down in more detail. But here in this example, we're gonna stick at $12 times 13,000, this is 156,000. So we have a contribution margin then of 104,000. Our fixed costs were 80,000, and so our operating income would be 24,000. Remember, we said that if we sell 3,000 more soccer balls and each one contributes $1, then our operating income should go up $3,000, right? Okay, that's what we just talked about at the very beginning of this lecture. We went over how the special order will be increasing our contribution margin by 1 because we had a $13 sales price minus $12 of variable costs, got us a contribution margin of 1, and we're selling 3,000 soccer balls. So let's see how this works. So we have this revenue, and now if we sell 3,000 more at a sales price of $13, that gets us $39,000 more dollars in sales because 3,000 soccer balls times that $13 sales price gets us $39,000. So our revenue would then go up $39,000 to $299,000 if we accept this special order. Variable costs are also going to go up. 3,000 soccer balls times $12 of variable costs, right, gets us 36,000. So 156,000 plus 36,000 gets us $192,000. So now when we subtract this, we're going to get 107,000 as our contribution margin. Fixed costs, we said fixed costs aren't going to change. In this example, fixed costs are going to stay fixed within this relevant range. So they will not change whether we accept or reject this offer. So then what happens? If we accept this special offer, this special order, our operating income will go up $3,000, just like we had predicted previously. Okay? Now, let's look at something else here. Let's assume that, I'm going to erase some of this. Let's assume that fixed costs do change. So let's look at a new example. Let's say that we're going to have this special order of $13 per soccer ball. The variable costs are still 12, so we've got this contribution margin of 1. Okay? Now we need to know how many we're going to be selling. So let's say, once again, that we're selling 3,000 soccer balls. So we're back to our total contribution margin of 3,000. Now what I'm telling you is, if we accept this, our fixed costs might change. And in this example, they are going to change. They're going to go up $2,000. That happens sometimes. Sometimes there are fixed costs that could possibly change because of a special order. So whenever you're looking at homework or tests, you need to make sure that you read this and see, are the fixed costs true fixed costs, or is there a possibility that some of them might change? If they change, then we've got to factor that in. So our contribution margin right now is 3,000 associated with this special order. But if fixed costs go up 2,000, we have to factor that in. And so what will happen is our amount will go from 3,000 down to 1,000. It's still positive, so this would still be a viable decision to make. We still might want to do this special order because we're still have $1,000 that would go into our operating income. In today's lecture, we went over lots of important information. You have to look at relevant information, the relevant costs, the relevant revenues, in order to make these special order decisions. We were looking at the financial information. There are some non-financial things that you need to take into consideration too. Even though this might look good and generate us positive income, if our current customers find out about this, it might upset our current customers, even though they know we're just doing business. Or if we've got a very popular or like a luxury type item, we might not want to sell it at a discount. That's just not what we do for our business, all right? So you've got to look at some financial information, but at the same time, you've got to look at the non-financial relevant information when you're making these decisions. All right, class. We're going to go over in the next several videos lots of these type of decisions that we're going to be making, like make and buy, discontinuing products or product lines. This was the special orders. I hope this makes sense. Make sure that you really understand that contribution margin because we need to use that in a lot of these decisions that we're going to make in the following videos. All right, class, good luck, and I hope to see you back again soon.